I want to talk about two of the dumbest, most inconsistent scenes in animated shows and story continuations. Omni-Man and the Black Hole, and Goku and the 40-ton weights. Both of these scenes make no sense in their own universes at all. Let's start with Omni-Man hovering dangerously close to a black hole. In the comics, Viltrumites are canonically weakened quite a bit by intense gravity. While their homeworld was likely larger than Earth, it certainly wasn't on par with even a gas giant, much less a black hole. In the comics, we learn about this weakness when Mark learns about the Savage Planet, home of the Ragnar species. On this world, what are likely above-average Viltrumites are barely able to move. At least by Viltrumite standards. It's the same in the show as well. Having Nolan casually float above or around a black hole and not die immediately is frankly likely impossible considering everything we know about the character's abilities in either version of the story. And the only version of Omni-Man that might reasonably scale to something like this is the very likely non-canon to Invincible crossover, Omni-Man that fought against Supreme. Supreme having casually destroyed a planet while fighting someone once, and who scales above somebody who can, quote, play kickball with stars. So, either an extremely heavily buffed Nolan, or a supremely debuffed Supreme. As canon comic Omni-Man is certainly not star level, but at least this scene looks really cool. The same cannot really be said of the other scene, though. On to Goku and the 40-ton weights. So, in this scene, Goku has 10 tons of weight on each limb and has to go Super Saiyan to move around and train like normal. Okay, let's talk about what Goku could do as a child, both before and after training with Roshi. Oh, and keep in mind, Goku at this point would be considered a relatively weak Saiyan. First, the bare minimum. When the series first begins and Goku is a very young child, he lifts and throws Bulma's car with her in it. Her car seems to be the Dragon Ball Universe's version of a Renault 5 Turbo, I think. Assuming it's at least fairly similar to its real-world counterpart, this car has a curb weight of 970 kilograms or 2,138 pounds, which is just slightly above 1 ton. Goku does this at the beginning of the series with some effort. Now on to what should be his strength after properly training with Roshi for a relatively short time. Goku moves a boulder that weighs, at bare minimum, 2 million pounds, or 907,184 kilograms, or 1,000 tons. It is important to note that took great effort on his part, however, it's also important to note that weight of 1,000 tons is likely an extreme lowball for said boulder, as that weight would only be close to accurate if the boulder were made of pumice, the lightest commonly known rock, at least that I could find. And considering how pumice is formed, it is far more likely to be something like granite, which would make it closer to 9,586,622 pounds, or 4,348,418 kilograms, or 4,793 tons. At least if that online boulder calculator is right. However, I'm heavily lowballing it to the 1,000 tons just to be safe here. All this means that a Goku who likely had not even gone through puberty yet could easily lift 40 tons. In fact, he could probably casually lift 100 or 200 tons. This would make Kid Goku, pre-martial arts tournament, physically stronger than Buu Saga base form Goku, maybe even Buu Saga Super Saiyan 1 Goku. Oh, yeah. It would also make child Krillin physically stronger than Buu Saga base Goku as well. I'm not joking, he moves the same boulder with fairly similar effort. Mind you, they are both wearing 50-pound turtle shells on their backs at the time, which would theoretically canonically weaken them. Really does depend on your view of canon, though. Let's take this even further. Vegeta and the Gravity Chamber. Goku is usually shown to be relatively equal to or slightly stronger than Vegeta through a good chunk of the story, Saiyan Saga notwithstanding, where Vegeta would have won had it not been for a lot of interference. Vegeta trains for the androids in 400 times the Earth's gravity. He weighs, apparently, 135-ish pounds. That seems quite a bit low for a slab of muscle, but oh well, he is an alien, I suppose. This means he is training, rather intensely, while his body weighs 54,000 pounds, or 27 tons, or 24,493 kilograms. And he's doing this in his base form while injured. This is pre-Super Saiyan Vegeta, after all. This would make pre-Android Saga Vegeta vastly stronger than Buu Saga Goku, at least in base form. It gets even worse when you realize the scaling for Goku isn't even consistent within the Buu Saga itself. During the Buu Saga, manga Goku lifts 13,607 kilograms or 30,000 pounds, which is about 15 tons, with pretty significant ease, as if he were holding up a beach ball. The anime makes it worse by having him do the same with 136,948 pounds, or 62,119 kilograms, or 68.5 tons. He does this in both versions in his base form. And I don't believe he received any significant boosts or Zenkais between this and the 40-ton weight scene. He fights Vegeta and then wells on Buu for a bit, maybe gaining a slight boost from the fight with Vegeta, but certainly not a full-on Zenkai. Oh, maybe a boost from the Yakon battle. Not sure force-feeding an alien Super Saiyan energy would qualify, though. Honestly, the Goku scene annoys me far more because the Invincible animated show is a completely different continuity to the comics. You need look no further than Amber for that. And while in Dragon Ball Z, the anime and the manga have two slightly different canons, they're very clearly supposed to be the same story featuring the same characters. In Invincible, that's just not true. Also, the 40-ton weight scene exists in both the manga and the anime. It is canon to both. And I have checked the scene is the same in the manga in multiple languages. So we can't just put it down as an adaptation or translation issue. I love Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, but honestly, one of Toriyama's biggest weaknesses as a writer was consistency. And frankly, for a long time, it's kind of unnoticeable. After all, we aren't often given actual numbers in Dragon Ball throughout OG Dragon Ball and most of Z. And during OG Dragon Ball, it was fairly rare to see a character struggle with something they, or even other characters had already accomplished. Yajirobe climbing all of Korin's tower in a fairly short time with Goku on his back will always be hilarious to me. The big issues start when we do get those numbers, because now we're seeing characters struggle with feats their child versions could likely pull off with relative, if not great ease. It just strikes me as ridiculous that Buu Saga Goku would have to go Super Saiyan to stand a chance of winning an arm wrestling match with Kid Goku. If the weight scene had been just King Kai saying something like, "Hey Goku, how about we triple your weights," without giving an actual number, we could just accept there was no real way to tell how heavy they were. But he gave their weight out loud. At least when Goku took off the weighted clothes for the first time in Dragon Ball, they weighed more than the turtle shells he used to wear. Now, have I made this video just to complain about something fairly pointless? Yes. Well, I've probably been yapping long enough, so thank you for listening to my inane ramblings.